All right, Trump swollen baby legs, and today Justin's son ringing the bell on the NASDAQ, the same day Hulk Hogan dies in that Clearwater, Florida, supposedly. But Jimmy Hart, that gem for that ring and the heart attack, all those things are, he's saying that he didn't die. So this is where we might see like a little resurrection performance being shown. And then also Tesla, that new AI robot restaurant in LA, has round windows and stone and such, and this is part of that stone being rolled away in that empty tomb and such. But the Melania is redoing the garden, and she put in a concrete pad, and this is the part of the moonlander pad, and all those things, and the concrete is tied into that auto mechanism and the stuff that's built into it through China and stuff, where it's a self-collapsing system that I've gotten into before. But now all these things are like lining up as far as the Legos and whatever that we've been seeing stacking up. The Clearwater is tied to your floodwaters and your currency change when the petrodollar goes under, and basically 47, the Chapter 11 bankruptcy upon America would be like your 7-year tribulation when you can't buy shit, you can't import shit or whatever. Everything has to kind of be restructured here to get by and whatever. And then 49 is your Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Anyways, these are the different stacks on where the dollar goes and turns off. You have the new tethered dollar coming, and the new system where it's not that much power on it. But anyway, so this is kind of coming on the world stage as far as America, and this is that tribulation and great tribulation time frame. And I've said in the past, where the West Coast has been in a tribulation, they're going to get some stuff going on, such as the tidal wave or the big quakes, volcanoes or whatever going off, that would bring in their great tribulation, and then that would bring in the tribulation to the Middle East side. And then once that gets done for those 7 years, then it goes into the great tribulation or whatever. But as the shortening of days happens, this is where these things can go into a compound effect, and where everything has already been set up on this world stage. And the slabs, the headlight for the nighttime fishing, and all these things are being stacked as the Justin's son is coming in. And then you're gonna, that sun, that light is gonna be there fish until morning, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be new daylight. And either way, so the slab fishing is for the labs, and going up and down, and it gets the bass to look up and to catch them or whatever. And those bass kits, those ass kits, are already collected and gathered with this, or the food and drink and the big beautiful pills they're taking and all those other things. So as this new system comes on, I would expect that Amazon rainforest to be shining a light on this. And then the Bezos has the Oz in it, and he'd be part of that Dr. Evil. And the evil is tied to your Eve, who has access to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and she has to give it to the Adam to rise up and become as God. So this is where they've been shown this, that, and the other. Motion pictures have been given life. Ozzy, Prince of Darkness, the Satanic, all these things have been, the star seeds have been given fruits within that religion on that earth, and it's taken over the church and all those things, and it's all intermingled. So as all these things are intermingled, these Dr. Evils per se, these villains, are going to be the Antichrist figures coming against the so-called Jesus Christ, when he warned you in end times there'll be many teaching he is Christ, because he said he's not the Christ, and we are all the Christ, Colossians 3:11 says. And the Christ is the body and members of the living God, which we are all that bodies and members of that living God. We are all part of that Christ, that consciousness of man. So this is where the church is being taught one thing. They're being taught God is this, Jesus is this, Christ is this, blah, blah, blah. And it's being twisted through the words, and they're worshiping the letter and all these things, and it's becoming a division. And the mark of the beast is the 666, the gates of heaven and hell, that keeps you from is to come or is not on the back of the dragon, and the dragon is coming to devour its children and to lay a new egg and all these other things. And so as the empire of the sun comes and that Christian Baal is there before all, the that Baal worship is all going to get them as it goes ding, 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 and that sun is ding, 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 and on that NASDAQ, and that NASDAQ is here for your 725 tomorrow, for your Christmas spirit, the Christmas in July, and those types of things. And then his birthday for the 35 is on 7/30 this year, and that's when your morning time kind of begins as far as your work. So Hulk Hogan dying in the Pinellas County, the Peniel, and Jacob, the Jack, the Hack and Jack, the One-Eyed Jack, all those things, the Joker, that's tying into this, where you see the face of God, and then they see the face of God, they're freaked out. It tells them their Lord is killed in Sodom. That's so dumb, and that freedom is taken over, as are those extras in Idiocracy. So we're right here, folks, okay? The Stretch Armstrong and the Stretch Hulk Hogan, all those kinds of things, this Armstrong and that Neil Armstrong is all going together for that Apollo 11 and landing. That Apollo 11 landing is now, as the parrots are all locked up in the cage, rancher, but the Lord, but Jesus Christ. Okay, so it's all been set for decades and decades and decades. All right. Hulk Hogan. We also have Justin's son being born, or going to the Hopan University. So the Hoopan or whatever. The Hoopan is the Who pandemic. And then also the Hoopan, the P is the flip around on the G. So that's the Hogan. So that's just one little connection on the slides, because the Red Hulk died today, and the Harris, the Kamala Harris, and those types of things are all wrapping together as far as the gamma rays and the MAGA rays. So him dying, and then the Jimmy Hart respawning, and the Jim and the heart, the love, and the love is for that evolution, everything that we're being taught about the beginning declared from the end, and the end is actually the beginning. We're watching how man is made, where this evolution, this tree of life, of knowledge of good and evil is put before them, and they go into the garden to where they can't do or live or whatever, and they go into basically the children, the dead, walking as they're walking around in their coffins. They can't do anything. And then the coffin is also the hack, and all those, and for the razor blade, COVID, the neck shit going on, the razor. So that ray here, that light for that dark sun and all those things, as you're in the end of the first day of the millennium, all those things as he's being given birth and shining the light. As either way, folks, the moon landing. So the heliocentric model, the projection, the image given life says that you can land on the moon, and this is where this moon pay and this so-called techno and the ape versus the apes. This is where the ape thinks that flat disc in the sky is a ball, and there's a dark side to it and all these other things, but they don't understand it's a transparent light that comes in and out of our reality, just like the so-called Jesus spirit, when we are taken to the cross, and we have these crossroads in time that we've seen before in our own past, but as these things condense into time. So as the moon is a transparent object, it comes in and out of our reality, we can see, and depending where you're at, depending how you look at it, it can be smiling at you, it can be sad or whatever, okay? It all depends on your perspective and how you are viewing it from where you're at on earth. And the earth is the ear, and those toxic effects and how those things and that grieve us sin of Sodom. And repent means to grieve by law of first mention in Genesis 6:6 when the Lord did it. So this is where everybody's grieving everything now. They're all angered and hate, and they don't understand. It's all these things that's going on now. So this is where we're in those times of Noah, the times of Sodom and Gomorrah, where their Lord is killed in the Sodom and the Sodom, and that sod for the Elon, the new heaven and earth. All these things are being laid out, and those animals aren't going to want to eat from the new heaven and earth, as they're not the spiritual, they're the physical, and they're not going into the whatever. So that carnal Christian, for that incarnation of Christ, is going to take them out as the Antichrist comes in. And he's already done that through the electric, that lightning. Okay, so that's where he's made his empire, not using the petrodollar. So all these things are to boom, but boom, as a stepping stone of the pyramid, as we are living in the script for the world stage, as it's a preset program to take us from one time to another time, to raise the consciousness of man, as man is just beginning in a sense, as man, the beast is now beginning in a sense. Okay, so we're living in these types of realities, and we can look back through our own history and see these things. The moon being a transparent object, this is where we can understand, and they're being told it's solid versus what we can actually see in transparency, to where this can come through the blue sky, and then the dark purple gray nighttime sky shines through the moon and comes through as the light lights up everything, and everything is done seamlessly. Okay, this part of that seamless still, and all those things kind of working together that we mentioned on one side, but there's also a hard landing for the hard 8, and that hard 8 ties into those 8 years and those types of things that's lining up. But either way, folks, we can see where there's two worlds, where this old world projection on one level would fade out, and then we realize who God is and what God is, and has all these things for the truth and grace to come out. But all these things have to shine through the lampstands, which are us, and we are tied to the consciousness, the Christ, the bodies and members of the living God. So this is where we're all gathering these things, and we're coming connected to these things, and we're putting them together to take us in from one time to another time, as the old covenant is taken out and the new covenant is brought in. Okay, and that is what we are here now doing.